South Africa's automobile industry continues to evolve as it celebrates 100 years of its existence this year. Industry leaders are gathered in Cape Town this week seeking ways to drive localization, increasing exports and creating jobs. The Automotive Industry Conference is taking place at a time when the sector is facing significant headwinds. It continues to face low demand for vehicles owing to a depressed market as well as the transition to electric vehicles. SABC News reporter Setho is in Cape Town for us and she joins us now. Thank you so much, Liabo, for joining us. We spoke to you earlier. Who do you have as a guest this time?
Nompu, yes, we spoke earlier and I did tease out to you that TransUnion just issued a statement where they published their latest vehicle pricing index for the second quarter of this year, which among other indications shows that electric vehicle adoption is growing and driven by younger consumers as well as financial innovation. I did manage to catch up with the CEO of TransUnion, Mr. Lee Naik, who's going to tell us a little bit about this index and what other interesting findings there have been. Thank you so much, Mr. Naik, for making time to speak to us here on the SABC. A befitting time for you to be issuing this vehicle price index and its findings, particularly about the adoption of EVs among young consumers. What is attracting them so much to electric vehicles? Is it, the growing trend, or is it maybe the modernization of the automobile industry?
Well, the reality is that the entire market has changed. Globally, in places like China, 1 out of every 4 vehicles is in fact an electric vehicle. Now, let's be real. In South Africa, we're still starting. We're at an increase in Q2 on the sale of electric vehicles, but it still makes up less than 1% of vehicles sold. Why is it interesting to our youngsters? They are more conscious about the earth and about sustainability, and they're looking to put their money behind purchases that are good for the planet and are good for their future. They also believe that by supporting EVs, they have more control of their finances, and there's a genuine belief that by going after EV vehicles, they'll spend less money in future than on ICE vehicles.
Yeah. There's still some drop, a significant, quite in fact, 6% decline in new vehicle sales and then another 6.1 drop in total vehicle finance from the previous quarter. Is this indicative generally of the state of the consumer's finances in general?
Well, absolutely. The consumers are highly stressed right now. You must remember that we've just had a 25 basis point decrease, which in real terms, on an average consumer that has a R1 million home loan and a 350,000 rand car, it's only made a difference of 314 rands a month. So it's early days and the consumers are highly stressed. You must remember it's been a long time since we've had an interest rate cut. In fact, as far back as May 2023. And with a higher cost of food and fuel, it's cost them a lot more. But the good news is that we've had an interest rate cut, and just recently we had a R2.20 decrease in the cost of petrol. So we're starting to see an easing. But what the data reveals to us, it's too early in the cycle, and consumers have deprioritized purchases and focused rather on their living expenses, because every day it's hard to manage a household budget in a tough economy.
Yeah. Is this why we're also seeing that those who have used vehicles keep them for much longer, and those that do have the choice to buy a vehicle, they would rather go for a used vehicle?
Absolutely. We found this trend post-pandemic where consumers' priorities have changed. As opposed to buying a new vehicle, they realize it's tougher to run their budgets, but equally so, they've realized that maybe they don't need 2 cars in their household, and they're downgrading from having 2 cars to 1 car, and they're choosing a larger crossover or an older SUV. What we found in our data is that you have greater utility in a used car, so people are being much more conscious, knowing that their rand need to go a lot further, and by focusing on a used vehicle with greater utility, their rands will go a lot longer.
Yeah. What interesting trends are you seeing in terms of financing of vehicles? Any innovative solutions coming up on stream that one should be aware of, especially at a time where consumers are strong?
Well, there's 2 big trends right now. The biggest trend is a concept we call micro-mobility. We're going to see more and more people using bicycles or even e-bikes to move around. In a market where we can't afford vehicles, e-mobility or micro-mobility will start to become a trend. The second more prevalent trend is something we call mobility as a service. For people that can't access vehicle financing, they may actually rent to buy or lease to buy, or they may just buy a car for a period of time. The real trend we're seeing right now, specifically in the younger generations, those born after 1981, they are telling us very, very clearly they have a very, very different view on cars. Whereas we may have a specific context or connection with a vehicle brand, all the youngsters want to do is to move around, to access job opportunities and to move around for business or lifestyle. So cars are becoming deprioritized in their context, and their view is, how do I use car to live my life or to work versus chasing a brand like they have traditionally.
All right, Mr. Lina, thank you. I know you have to run. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on the SABC. We really appreciate your input. I've been speaking to the CEO of TransUnion, Mr. Lina, and he's been telling us about their vehicle pricing index that they've released this morning that gives us very interesting trends. We are at the South African Auto Week here in Cape Town, where from tomorrow we'll see a much more busier stalls behind me. Today it's really more of a media day where they're introducing us to the speakers that are going to be there. So far we've spoken to NAMSA and of course just now TransUnion. We'll be speaking to other players such as financiers and banks to find out about some of the innovative approaches that they have in terms of financing vehicles and also consumption patterns and also credit worthiness of consumers, to what extent that is also impacting on people going out to look for cars.